good point. I think that it's going to be a very interesting offseason. It's hard to be really hopeful about this regime until it's proven. And now we have a big defensive coordinator search that we're going to get into, of course. Apparently, they're going to add an offensive senior coaching hire to help out Tanner Engstrand, who did not really show us much. But there's so much. And I want to put this in your guys' shoes, all right? Starting off with you, Matt, maybe you can give us a little preview. How would you fix the Jets? Because the Jets are broken. And right now, we know they're not firing Aaron Glenn. You can say they could. If it's your decision, you're Woody Johnson right now. What is your way to quickly solve the turnaround of this Jets football team?
To me, I think it starts with the defensive coordinator hire, because I just don't think they're firing Aaron Glenn. So I just don't think that's something worth talking about or trying to fix it right now. But I think if you hit on the defensive coordinator, my preference is either Jim Schwartz or Jim Leonard. Those would be the two guys that I would target. I think you have to hope and pray Dante Moore comes out of the draft, and maybe hope that he wins a national championship so the Raiders take him number one, because I would prefer Fernando Mendoza for the Jets. I think he's more ready to come in and start in this league right away, where Dante Moore, I think, needs a little bit more time. I think you're spending money at linebacker and safety and on the defensive line to continue to round out those units. I'm drafting a wide receiver with either the Indianapolis pick or at the top of the second round. And bringing in some veteran offensive minds to assist with Tanner Engstrand. I know they tried to bring in or were in talks with Todd Haley last year. I don't maybe they try to strike that back up again. I know, there's going to be a lot of Mike McDaniel and Brian Dable and Kevin Stefanski, but I don't think those guys are coming here for anything that's not a offensive coordinator job. Same with Cliff Kingsbury. And really start there. I think that would go a long way to turning this product around. It's not a perfect fix, but hopefully starts getting them in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, this is the $1 million question. What the heck is the blueprint? Jake, you're Woody Johnson. You're
telling the team, boys. Gary V, the time is now. I mean, that's what I would do if I was Woody. But if I had to remain as the owner, I can't fire the head coach, because that'd be the first thing I would do.
Well, you're buying the team. Jake Asman, now owns the Jets.
Okay, well, Aaron Glenn is gone immediately, and we're going to hire a proven coach with an offensive background. We're going to try for Harbaugh. If we can't get him, we'll pivot to McCarthy. We will be interested in Kevin Stefanski. Even Cliff Kingsbury, I'd be intrigued by, depending on who his DC hire would be, because we're going to take a quarterback at second, and I want to make sure we provide the infrastructure for that player to have a success, and we don't make the Sam Darnold mistake all over again with a different Jet head coach with the initials AG. So for me, that's where it would start. It doesn't sound like Glenn's getting fired, right? So what I would do is I would try to get the best possible defensive coordinator. I would make Brian Flores the highest paid DC in football and essentially say to him, if Glenn stinks it up, you're the head coach in waiting, and then you get a chance to prove that you belong to be a head coach again, because the league's blackballing you because of the lawsuit. I'd try with something bold like that. I would try and get Jim Schwartz. If I can't get Flores, I'm getting the best possible DC I can to try and dummy-proof the defense from Glenn. And again, Engstrand, I think, has done some okay things, but if there's a chance for me to get a guy like Brian Dable or Cliff Kingsbury or someone who's a proven offensive mind for my young quarterback, I would do that as well. I'm basically going to try and just supremely upgrade the coaches around Aaron Glenn to the best of my ability if I have to stick with him for another year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of resources that we're going to, outside of the defensive coordinator hire, which is going to be absolutely massive, the coaching staff hire. I'm really excited to see what the Jets do at this position, because there's a lot of options at quarterback. They can get one in free agency. They can trade for one. They can draft one. They can do all three. They can do whatever they want. I feel like what we'll be talking about up until free agency is a million different scenarios. I've heard a lot of Jets fans. I mean, I've said, my bold prediction, it's not really bold, I guess you can say it's pretty likely, is a Malik Willis and a Dante Moore quarterback room. I think that would be smart. Getting Malik Willis as a starter, you draft Dante Moore at 2 if he declares. He's the guy that gets to sit behind Malik Willis. It's a 2-year deal, similar to the Fields contract. That would be something maybe. Do they trade for Kyler Murray? We know his situation. I would not give him the keys to the franchise, but I maybe consider it as a bridge, even though that's not my favorite option. Do the Jets draft someone at 2? Do they try to trade up to number 1, which is probably not going to happen? Do they maybe draft someone later on in the draft? Boy, oh boy, there's a lot of scenarios. So Matt, go over all the options. Where are you at right now? What's your gut feeling early on in the offseason? Where are the Jets going at quarterback?
I think it's sign 1 and draft 1. I think that's the route that they're going to end up going. And another name that I would toss in there is Marcus Mariota. He started a decent amount for Washington. And supposedly Dante Moore has a good relationship with him. So I wonder if that would be a good pairing if he ends up being the guy for the New York Jets. But I think you got to take a swing at both, especially if Dante Moore is going to be your quarterback, because as I said earlier, he's young, he's 20 years old and doesn't have a ton of starts under his belt. So I think it's in their best interest not to start him out of the gate. So you need someone who could kind of hold down the fort. There aren't a ton of great options out there. Malik Willis or Marcus Mariota are probably the 2 of the top names that are going to be linked to the Jets the most this offseason.
Yeah, and I feel like last year's swing at Justin Fields, like, I don't want a guy that's young that you're trying to like find. No, I'd rather get someone that you're just bringing in as a bridge. I know Malik Willis is young and stuff, but I like the Marcus Mariota. I think he's a solid option. He's the only option we have in terms of free agency. Jake, your wish list for how the Jets bring in their quarterback this offseason throughout all the different ways.
I would sign 2 veterans and draft either Moore or Mendoza, who's ever there at 2, or if they fall in love with Simpson. I'm not as down on Ty Simpson as others are. I look at his situation as Alabama, and he had no running game. He had a terrible offensive line. I think he's better than some give him credit for. But again, like whoever they like at quarterback at 2, I'm on board with. And Marcus Mariota, and then re-signing Tyrod, and Tyrod's essentially the quarterback coach to mentor Mendoza or Moore. I like that idea. I need someone that could play, that could start the season. So Moore or Mendoza or Simpson do not have to play right away. That's my big thing. I almost want to replicate what the Giants did for Dart, where they had Russ, Jameis, and then they made their move and got Jackson Dart. I want 2 vets signed in free agency and then take someone with the second pick, assuming they like one of those options.
Isn't that what, correct me if I'm wrong, what the Jets did with Darnold? They had McCown and Teddy.
And then they traded Teddy for the 3rd rounder. Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it didn't work out for the Jets, even though they should have kept him, but that's another conversation. I think that's a smart move. You get 2 veterans in the building, let the rookie go into the season to sit, especially if it's Dante Moore. But speaking of Dante Moore, what the heck do the Jets do if he doesn't declare? Does that change like everything?
Depends how you feel about Ty Simpson.
Do you think Ty Simpson is worthy of the 2nd overall pick, or would you target him at 16 or trade up back in the 1st round, or try to hope
the narrative is no, but like draft people I've already started talking to, and even just doing like checking in with like guys like Robbie Sabo and Joe Blewett over at JetX. They don't think there's a gap between Simpson and the other guys, for what it's worth. I'm not going to go there yet. I just want to get more information and watch, especially how these playoff games play out the rest of the way. But it really depends on what your evaluation is of these other options. And you could do the Giant thing where you take a player at 2 and then you trade back in to round 1, or you move up with the Colts pick if you feel like you need to get a little higher to get in front of a team to get them. I think it really depends on what their evaluation of these quarterbacks are.
What do the Jets do, Matt, if Dante Moore declares or doesn't declare, and stays in school?
Then I think they're going to be aggressive for someone like Malik Willis, who's going to get a decent amount in free agency, I would think, after his performance. And probably I would think you're either taking Ty Simpson, if that's the route that you want to go, at 16, or trading up from 33 back into the 1st round to get him.
Are there any other quarterbacks in this class outside of those 3 that you're keeping an eye on the mid rounds, or are we all in on the top dogs?
Carson Beck, maybe. He's got a lot of games started. A year ago, he was a 1st round pick, and then he didn't have a great year at Georgia and needed to bounce around a little bit. He's playing tonight. We'll see what he does. I mean, maybe Trinidad Chambliss just plays out of his mind and wins a national title, and then declares for the draft instead of going back to Ole Miss, and he becomes an option. Maybe it's tricky, man. They really need Moore to declare. Even if they don't love Moore, maybe another team would, and then at least you have the trade down option and could just keep adding picks and building up the roster.